The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Review.
Welcome everyone to Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Live Review. This is the September 27th, 2016 edition, guys, and we are here and getting ready to talk about some big things on SmackDown. I'm your host, Gary Vaughn, and yeah, I know it's weird. This is not Sean Garmer. It usually is hosted by Sean Garmer, but this week he is out. He has some family obligations, so, you know, best wishes and hopes and prayers to him and his family as they take care of some things personally. But, you know, I'm glad to be here with you guys. Of course, along with me, like always, Mr. Paul Leeser.
Heyo.
And our special guest for this week, and, you know, honestly, a returning host, Mr. Brandon Biskobing.
Well, I was joking with Sean when we were talking about, splitting up the podcast when the Brandon section happened, and he said, I'll use you for SmackDown. I got drafted to the SmackDown. But let's just leave it at that. I'm your SmackDown guy now.
Hey, I like it. I like that. It's fine with me. So, I mean, hey, you know, if we're drafted anywhere personally, I would love to be drafted to SmackDown too. But you know, all that said, you know, we're excited about talking about all that is about SmackDown Live. I just want to remind everybody, if you want to go check out all our other things that we do, go check out that Raw review we just did yesterday. Or maybe you want to check out episodes 1 and 2 of Wrestling to the Max every week. Just go join the W2M Network. That's where you go and subscribe and find all the content when it comes to Wrestling to the Max. Plus, you can also go to W2Mnet.com. Go find us there. Plenty of wrestling, lots of cool things there. Of course, you know, other things are there too. Football. We also have video games. Just plenty of stuff for your entertainment and enjoyment. Go check out that site. Why I've delayed any further, though, guys, let's get into this show. Let's talk about SmackDown Live. Wow. We started the show out with an interesting, you know, situation because we had Randy Orton come down to the ring, which honestly, guys, I didn't expect Randy Orton first. That was kind of out of left field. You know, it's been a minute since we've seen him around. But he comes out and addresses the situation with Bray Wyatt that he's having, of course, saying, you know, once again, he's not scared of Bray Wyatt, you know, all those type of things we usually hear him say. And, of course, you know what's going to happen, right? We're going to have Bray Wyatt intervene, and he's going to be there on the Jumbotron, and he's going to be talking about his normal, you know, you don't know, blah, blah, all the riddles and all the rhymes that comes with Bray Wyatt. This pretty much goes out through the entire episode of SmackDown Live because we have Randy Orton, of course, going on a search for Bray Wyatt, and which is kind of cool in a way, but it's also a reminiscence to what Roman Reigns did. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it's kind of like that. Not as weird, but still there. And, of course, you know, what this all ends up being is Orton does find Bray Wyatt in the end, and to, you know, Bray Wyatt's surprise, gets a little bit of a beat down, but then they both sing a special song that we all love, right? He's got the whole world in his hands. You know, out of all this, guys, I mean, I was a little bit, you know, I don't know. I kind of liked it, and I kind of didn't. It was kind of weird. But what did you guys think? How did you feel about this? What do you think, Brandon?
I mean, I like the whole concept, but I've said time and time again, the more and more Bray Wyatt the more outlandish his claims become, especially now where he's saying he's a god and all of this, and then the more and more he ends up not looking very godlike at all, getting beat down very easily, it takes away from all of this way too much. You just don't feel like you're able to get behind it. I mean, the whole thing with the arrow turning back to the way it was, and, like, you know, a very creepy type thing like that happening. If it were Bray Wyatt of old, back when he was new and fresh, and you were thinking, oh, this guy, could be a legitimate threat, then yeah, that would have been really cool. But the more and more things like this happen where, yeah, he's great when it's, him playing mind tricks on people and whatnot. Unless their whole concept of a god is that Bray Wyatt just keeps on getting beaten down time and time again, but he's able to pop back up and still be his normal snarky self, then okay. But when you think of a god, you think of someone invincible. You think of someone who, is gonna be a monster on a physical level, and you just do not get that with the way they've been booking Bray Wyatt on a physical level, in a match level. And even this in a situation where, more times than not, they have had Bray Wyatt win these sorts of confrontations backstage and whatnot. Think of the Wyatt compound situation with the New Day. Think about Roman Reigns, like you mentioned, him sneaking up on someone, luring them into a trap, and using his smarts, which could be labeled like godlike type things, something like that potentially. But now it's neutralized even more because Randy Orton basically turned the table and outsmarted Bray Wyatt and sprung the trap and beat him down, and pretty much came out victorious in this segment. So more and more, my question just is, how long do you go with Bray Wyatt and make him even more outlandish, more ridiculous in his claims, if you're not actually gonna allow him to back up said claims?
So I thought these were pretty hit and miss throughout the entire night, and ultimately I walk away sort of disappointed, I think, just because they could have done so much more than what they did here, as well as their treatment of Bray. For me, when you go back into his world, into his area, into his thing, he should win. That's kind of the whole point, especially if you're going to proclaim he's a god. That's his realm. That's his area. That's what he does. And for Randy to sort of outsmart him there sort of feels like that's the final nail in the coffin for this feud. Ultimately, I was really hoping behind that door he would pick the wrong one and Luke Harper would jump out or something like that and use this as a gateway to get him back involved. And they've kind of, and maybe I'm expecting too much because I think it's pretty clear that Randy is going to be going after that WWE title by the end of this year, whenever the Ambrose, AJ Styles, John Cena mess is all sorted out. But I don't know. I feel like they could have at least done something right here by Bray to set him up for future success, even if he's not bound for immediate success.
I completely agree with Paul there, and one thing that you said right there, Paul, is him, with him, that is his realm, and he should be able to focus on that. And I don't really know what they're gonna do with Wyatt.
You know what? Here's this.
One other thing real quick. I remembered there was something else I wanted to say regarding what Paul just said. I think a big portion, and people will disagree with me all they want, but I honestly think a big part of why Wyatt, you said that it felt like this whole thing came up short. I think a lot of it with Wyatt, and Dean Ambrose is another example of this, is that their segments, their speaking, all of their promos feel like they come up a little short because of how timid creative has to be, where they're not willing to push that envelope and walk that fine line where maybe they go a little over the edge into the TV 14 realm.
See, that's the thing, and that's why this was a little bit flat at times. I really feel like this was Goosebumps. This was that, family friendly situation where maybe the kids get a little scared, but in the end they see, oh, look, the good guy prevails and all the evil is gone. That's not the way I think it should work. I get it. You have a audience that is geared towards the children. I totally understand that, and towards families. But you also have to think about your other audience, and that is, of course, males, 18 to 30, 40, whatever you want to say. And, of course, even, I don't want to say just males. There's also a female demographic out there that enjoy the show as well, who would love to see some horror aspects to this, this company in general. You don't have to be all lollipops and all the other great stuff. You can have a little bit of a horror edge to it, and maybe instead of Goosebumps, bring Freddy Krueger's world, Elm Street. We want to see Bray Wyatt's version of the Boiler Room. We want to see when guys actually enter into that world, it be creepy. We feel like we're on edge personally, like we don't know what's going on. If you would have told me that this was going to be a situation where, Randy Orton goes in and he gets a little lost and he can't get out of there, I'm sold.
Oh, yeah.
If he's trapped, let's say he goes in and comes out and then there's something wrong with him and he doesn't know what's wrong with him. Once again, I'm sold. This is kind of funny, I guess, at the end here where they're singing together. That's the only thing I come out of it. I don't come out of this wanting to see the next big show, No Mercy. I don't care about that match right now.
Yeah. Well, no one has cared about Bray Wyatt matches for I don't know how long because he never wins. It just feels so flat. And one thing with what you said right there, Gary, a great idea I would have had is do what you said and have him get lost or something and have the last image you see of SmackDown. You don't even have to end it this week. This is a way to promote next week's SmackDown. Have the last image you see Randy Orton just being completely lost and trying to figure out, crap, where am I? How do I get out of here?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that makes you really want to tune into next week. Let's just say it that way. Yeah. And you're right on that. You're completely right. They need to work on that. I feel like SmackDown's really done a great job.
I know a lot of people that that maybe don't love the new era, but they're okay with the way the product is now. Some people would disagree with me, but I honestly think, and I don't know if we'll ever see this again. I hope and pray that we do, but I honestly do not think that we will ever get a good promo or a good vignette with anyone of the likes of Bray Wyatt or Dean Ambrose or anyone of that nature until they finally say, we have to move on from everything that happened in 2007 and go back and be able to go back, change it back to TV 14 and reclaim what we had. And I mean, I don't know. This is something that I'm sure you guys will talk about on Thursday, but I just thought I'd bring it up since I'm here. With all of the rumors that are going around with a certain other wrestling promotion, a dream matchup that wrestling fans would love to see, if done properly, would be the Wyatt family against
Decay?
Decay, thank you. And it would work so well if you allowed them to go all out, but it will never work on WWE programming at the current juncture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the answer is to go back to TV-14. There has to be a way where you can still create creepy television or have somebody have a harder edge without crossing that barrier so directly, as you can in TV PG or as you can in TV-14. They found a way to get Austin across before TV-14 happened.
But see, I agree with you, Paul. But that's the issue, is that they're so focused on this TV PG concept that and the Cena thing and all of that whereas the line should be very close to TV-14 and you can straddle that line and still be technically under TV PG realm, but they're halfway. They're right in the middle between TVG and TVPG, instead of it being way over on the TVPG, closer to TV-14 end.
Yeah, and we could beat a dead horse, with this, because this has been a topic for a long time, and it really has. And I agree, and it's definitely a good discussion. But I'll say this to close it. Money talks, and that's what WWE's looking at. They're looking at Mattel, they're looking at commercials, they're looking at everything that comes with that family-friendly aspect. That's what's making their money right now. Back in the day, TV-14 made their money. Now it's kids, and
yet they see the ratings drop all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. But we'll see. Maybe they'll figure it out. I don't know. Let's move on and talk about this 8-man tag that happened on this episode. And, of course, we have the Ascension teaming up this week with the Usos, and they faced off against American Alpha, Slater, and Rhino. So this is an interesting match here. How did you feel about this? Because we did have the Usos going over. And, the Usos also injured Heath Slater a little bit in this match, taking out the knee. Same thing they did to Gable. Now they're doing it on Heath Slater. They're really working that.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to be kind of their thing now, is, purposefully injuring people to basically get easy wins. Which I'm okay with. Since it seems to be working, it's going to be interesting.
I really dug this. Yeah, I really dug this match personally. I thought everybody was really on point. Even the Ascension, I think, were pretty good in here. But this was totally about the Usos. They got that new theme music, which I really enjoyed. Really fits them. They've really overhauled themselves very well, I think. I'm looking forward to that tag team title match come No Mercy now, too.
Yeah, I am too. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch and to see how it's all handled. I love the fact that, Rhino is going to get an opportunity to face, two guys like the Usos, because we're going to have to see a little bit more different dynamic with them because of the fact that they can high fly, they can move around, and not that we've never seen Rhino in that situation, but, we don't get a lot of it. And so now that'll be something new. Heath Slater, it will be also a fun addition. So I think this is a good story for them to continue on and to showcase. I just think it's one of the, maybe not the brightest thing, but one of the brighter things on this show, So, and also not only that, we get to enjoy the talk of the trailer and all that. And all the kids, right? All those kids. So pleasant
Finally
stuff.
got that above ground pool. That's what counts. He's made it, guys.
I'm jealous. I am totally jealous. One of these days, I'll get one. Let's move on and talk about something else that was kind of interesting. We had another tag team match, but this is in the women's division. We had Carmella and Natalya face off against Naomi and Nikki Bella. And, not a bad match. I think really what they wanted to do here is do kind of like they did in that other tag team match we just got through talking about. And they're continuing on a story, and that is Carmella trying to take out Nikki Bella. And, of course, Carmella does that. What do you think about this, Paul? Here we are. We're continuing on with it, and it's kind of funny. Naomi, I'm not saying Naomi is in the background. I'm not really saying Natalya's in the background, but they kind of feel like that.
And those two certainly do have a feud, too, but the main focus has been on that women's title and Nikki and Carmella, and that's simply, I think, because one, Nikki's got the bigger star presence out of the other two, and you got to keep the title in focus, and that sort of means that Natty and Naomi get tacked on here. But at the end of the day, I mean, they're still in a feud. This match still mattered. They wrestled like it mattered. You have some sort of sloppy moments here and there, mostly from Carmella, who's still not main roster ready, in my opinion. But I think she's been far more interesting since the heel turn, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do you think, Brandon? How do you feel about this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely leading up to something, probably at No Mercy. And I mean, they've just been doing a pretty good job with all of it. So
Yeah, they have. And I've been hard on Carmella. Every week people listen and they hear me, say bad things about her, just because I get kind of my ears start to bleed a little bit hearing her cut some of the promos that she does. But you know what? It's very hot and cold with her, because I think at times she does a good job. And I think that little video promo that did before the match actually was kind of good. I thought that was one of her better things. But talked to me last week, and I was just horrified of what she did. I thought her talking smack from last week, that little interview, oh, that really made my. I just can't even talk about that. Anyway. Moving on past that, though, I could go on and on. Let's move on and talk about The Miz. And he is home. He is in Cleveland, Ohio. He's ready to celebrate. We got the pyrotechnics going off. Miz is talking about, of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers winning the championship, about all these great things. And then, of course, he does what he does, right? He says, well, forget all that. I'm the most important thing to Cleveland. I'm the real champion here. No one else matters. Then, of course, he, introduces his mom and dad in the audience, which is pretty awesome. They're there. And then, of course, he sees Dolph Ziggler's parents and kind of pokes fun at Dolph and says, how does it feel to have like a disappointment for a son? And that, what does that do? Dolph Ziggler comes out. They get into their little thing, going back and forth, and really, it's kind of funny because the Miz brings up a lot of things. He basically tells Dolph, "Look, you try and try, but you never do anything. You're unsuccessful because of this, this, and this." Dolph, it basically fights back. Miz is going to leave, but he gets back, and he, really honestly cuts this really passionate promo about his career and the fact that yes, he comes in and day out and he gives his all, and yes, he is not where he wanted to be in his career. He thought he was going to be a bigger star, but here he is, and he has an obsession, and that is wrestling. And that is the only reason he's not doing what the fans tell him to do, and that's leave and do those kind of things. And he basically puts up his career for one more shot at the Intercontinental Championship. I'd really, not that I was saying to see this coming, but at the same point, I'm kind of intrigued by this a little bit. Miz definitely was. He couldn't wait to, give him that opportunity so he can put Dolph out of his misery. What did you think, Brandon?
Well, first off, as soon as Miz said, there's only one way that I'd give you another title, or I forget exactly what he said, but he said something along the lines of, the only way I'd give you another title shot is if you put your career on the line. To that effect, everyone knew that was coming. I mean, I think everyone, considering how much Miz has talked crap about Ziggler's career and all of that, everyone knew this was coming. The one thing, and everyone's been people have been saying this I've definitely been saying it for a long time, but the only way that I feel that this match will actually work, and I'm hoping Ziggler does get the win, but the only way, even if Miz does end up getting the win, the only way this is going to feel right, especially with the rivalry between Bryan and The Miz anyway, is if Bryan makes this into some sort of stipulation match so that Maurice cannot interfere. Whether she is barred from ringside or it's a steel cage match, what have you. They need to do something with that so that it's purely Miz against Ziggler.
I imagine we'll get something to that effect. We still have another SmackDown, and there's nothing stopping them from banning Maurice from ringside actually at the No Mercy event. But I loved this segment up and down. I thought Miz was hot fire here. I thought Ziggler's passion was very easy for you to see. Like he was close to tears, I think, talking about all this. And I mean, I think what even makes this better and sort of what's helpful about this era is that there's all the rumors of Ziggler maybe not re-signing with the company, and this very well could be the last time we see him inside a WWE ring. Is this come No Mercy if he loses that match? And is he putting over the Miz, or are we, there's that big does he, will he, won't he thing going on here, and it makes this absolutely intriguing. And I haven't been unentertained at all by this feud. It's been the best thing WWE's done. I think maybe this year.
Wow, that's high praise.
I'll agree with you to an extent. The only thing that I haven't really been a fan of is the fact that, how many times have we had the same or at least similar finishes in this match? It seems like it's at least been 4 or 5 times. You would have thought, especially with the rivalry between Bryan and The Miz, that there would have been some sort of stipulation already in one of their matches. If they're saving it for this match and Ziggler gets over as a result of a stipulation, then that's fine with me. But it just I feel Daniel Bryan, they had that whole thing on Talking Smack and everything, and it looked like Daniel Bryan was going to go after The Miz and all of that, but he hasn't really done anything. And so it's kind of fallen flat on that level with me.
Like I said, there's still time. There's still a lot of time left. They could come back with this with D-Bry next week. And they had D-Bry talk a lot about it on Talking Smack this week, too. He left it at the match is officially signed. But there's still time for the Miz to try to take this to the next level and D-Bry to sort of back him back down. If they decide to go that way.
Yeah. I just feel like, granted, it just wouldn't make sense to me considering the hatred that Daniel Bryan has for The Miz. And, I think Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler get along pretty well. Considering that, I just feel like he wouldn't just let The Miz screw Dolph Ziggler out of his career if it really is going to be a title versus career match. He's not going to let Dolph Ziggler get forced out by Maurice interfering.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And, we'll have to see. This is going to be very interesting to watch as it continues on. I think that there's a lot of good things here. I really honestly have a lot of curiosity if this is going to be Dolph Ziggler's last match at No Mercy. If it is, that's a big shock. And, boy, will I get a nice surprise when I get back from vacation. So we'll find out that. But, anyway, let's move on and talk about another interesting situation that took place on this show. We had Becky Lynch coming out, but, man, it didn't take her long to get attacked, and Alexa Bliss was the attacker. And, boy, beat her down, showed her the belt and said she didn't deserve it. Told us what she said to Becky and, doing her, I guess, maybe her best Harley Quinn impression. I don't know. I haven't seen Suicide Squad yet, so I don't know. But in the end, we have this continuing on with Alexa Bliss. Do you guys find this intriguing? What do you think, Paul? Is this anywhere on your radar as being good?
I don't know about good. It's certainly it's just there right now, but they haven't done a whole lot with it other than have Alexa win the #1 contendership and then pretty much talk about it. And I sort of get it. You're still trying to establish Alexa, and I think this helps with that. So letting her, I think, get some more promo time would be helpful. Becky was awesome on Talking Smack talking about this, by the way. She was really great on there. And I mean, I'm looking forward to the match. You need a bit more build, and hopefully they get the focus next week, because the women certainly weren't the focus this week. It was all about Bray and Randy.
Yeah, I mean, like Paul said, I think we'll see something happen with this moving forward. But yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, it is true. Yes, Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton got a lot of this show, so that kind of took away from the title picture when it came to the women, because the WWE Championship got a lot of time, especially at the end here. So I get it. That's why they did it. It's just, surprisingly enough, they gave more time to that tag match, and I thought maybe they would do something with a women's title, but they'll probably do it next week, and we'll be like, oh wow, they spent a ton of time on the women's title. Why don't we go ahead and talk about that main event? And wow, this is interesting because of the fact that we do have John Cena at ringside as Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles go at it again, and this is AJ putting up that WWE Championship for grabs. At the end of the day, we had a pretty good match. I mean, really enjoyable. I was thoroughly entertained myself. But, at the end of the day, we have John Cena, getting a punch from AJ. And the next thing you know, here comes Dean Ambrose also giving him a whack in the face. So both those guys kind of, alluding to me, triple threat in the near future. But what we have here is that, AJ Styles rolls up Dean Ambrose in the end here and retains his WWE Championship. Not a bad way to end the show, if you ask me, Brandon. Continues on with the whole thing. Of course, John Cena does get his stuff in, AA on both guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting finish. I mean, just about everyone that I saw was predicting some sort of interference or some sort of dusty finish on this one, which we got. But the one thing, and I mean, this may be intentional or not, and we'll see what happens next week, and and at No Mercy, and people talked about it with Reigns and Rusev with some of their promos, but Cena going after Ambrose first instead of Styles and focusing more on Ambrose, it kind of feels like a bit of a more heelish move. I mean, granted, Cena is probably in an opposite way in the same boat as like Stone Cold was back in the day, where no matter what he does, he will always get cheered, and booed on the other hand. But you would think with the rivalry between Cena and Styles for months now, he would be more focused on Styles.
I certainly don't think that the tension between Cena and Styles has gone away, but the tension with Dean and John, I think, is going to be much more immediate. Because I think they're going to want to hold off on doing more AJ Cena until early next year. And so what you have here is really, I think, something that Cena addressed very well on Talking Smack this week too, is sort of how he feels about Dean. And Dean is very different from John and has a problem with him. And John cares very little about what Dean thinks of him, because he hasn't been this guy that AJ has been improving himself. He's just a guy who's got guts. And I think just the very different characters that they are automatically is going to put them more at odds than just upstart AJ, So I also think it works out very well to balance out the hatred amongst all three of them, because they all have a reason to hate each other now. It's Cena disrespecting Ambrose now. Ambrose just hates everybody, and then AJ obviously just wants to beat everybody up and keep being the champion so he can keep running his mouth. And I think they've done very well by this feud, especially this week.
Yeah. Oh, no, I definitely agree with you on that level, but I'm just thinking in terms of, face heel concept. You would think you wouldn't expect a a straight up face like Cena to interfere like that so blatantly.
Yeah, definitely. What is also interesting in this too is I want to make this note. When Cena was at commentary, I loved how he kind of gave more information about himself, and he's still telling us guys that he is not leaving this company. No matter what he does outside of that ring, he will still be a part of the WWE. He kind of gave his own little insights about these two guys and things like that. And then, of course, like Paul said, talking smack, he elaborated even more. So I do appreciate that. If John Cena is not going to be in the ring, I really honestly kind of like him when he does these kind of things, like get on commentary and be a part of those special shows. It's not so beating you to death with just John Cena. It's just him just sitting back and giving opinions, not him parading around. So I like that personally. But that pretty much wraps up SmackDown Live. So what we need to do here is put a bow and ribbon on it and give it a rating. Brandon, what did you feel like this show deserved?
I mean, we mentioned it, there were some segments that were pretty good, but a lot of them either A, left us definitely wanting more and wishing that there could have been more, or it just, things don't exactly add up. I'll give it a 6.5.
Wow.
Hey, Paul.
I really enjoyed myself across this entire show. Everything had a point. I might not have agreed with some of the booking choices here and there, especially when it comes to Bray and Orton, but I won't say I wasn't entertained. I thought the 2 hours flew by very well. I'm going to go 7.5.
Wow, that's a lot different. Point different, I guess, because both of you had a half. But man, this is difficult for me because I did enjoy some of this. Here's my problem. I was not thrilled about the main point of this show, and that's they were trying to get across that Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton thing, and it just didn't do a lot for me. The matches were good. I mean, you got to enjoy those, matches that they really worked hard and put them together. But at the end of the day, I just think my gut's saying a 6. It's hard for me to give a 7 right now because the main point of the show was great. The main event was fine, but I don't think that could even save it for me. I don't think it was a bad show. Don't get me wrong. I just think it was not the best I've seen. I've seen, to me personally, some better SmackDown Lives, and this may not have been my favorite, but that's just me. Weird.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. That is our SmackDown Live review. If you want to hear more of these kind of reviews, you need to come and check us out every week. We'll be here. Of course, W2M Network is the place to be to find that. And, of course, if you just want to find our show, Wrestling to the Max, type that in any podcast thing near you, whatever you like to use, whether it be iTunes, whatever you like to use. Type in that Wrestling to the Max, you can find us. Of course, the W2M Network is the best way because not only do you get us, but you get other great content that you're going to want to enjoy week in and week out. And, of course, W2Mnet.com. That's the place where you can go and read a lot of things about wrestling, where you can go find more about some other topics you may enjoy. So go do that, check that stuff out. Besides that, we are out of here. Don't forget also, go check us out Thursday night live, of course, on Friday on the download. We'll be having part 2 of a Wrestling to the Max show. That is, of course, going to be episode 214. There you go. So, and I guess, Brandon, you're going to have to do the honors since Sean's not here. And we, once again, best wishes to Sean and his family. We're thinking about him tonight. Do you know the shtick or do you not? Do you remember it, Brandon?
What exactly?
All right, I'm gonna let you do it. We're gonna do this right, okay? So, if you're not living life to the max, you say oh my God, I've already forgot my own shtick. I used to do my own part. You're not living life at all, right? That's what you say. You're not living life at all. Ready?
You're not living life at all.
Ready? 1, 2. If you're not living life to the max,
you're not living life at all.
You know it. Later, guys.
Yeah.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.